So it's been 2 weeks since we recorded this shit. Not shit, this great show. It's been 2 weeks since we chewed all this up and shit it out. So what the hell you had going on for 2 weeks?
Let's see. I mean, personally, I guess just I've had a bunch of shit going on that's kept me busy. It's kind of outside of the shows and whatever, which I won't really get into. But yeah, just personally, I've had a busy couple of weeks, and so I've been running around and been out of town and just handling shit. So, but yeah, other than that, not a whole lot professionally, other than just the standard stuff. But
yeah, I've been doing baby stuff, dealing with all that. There's some stuff personally, kind of like Mike, that is going on with us and the baby that I'm not going to discuss on the air, but those close to us know what it is, and that takes priority over everything. The wife got tired of the Denali. I don't know if it's a record-breaking time, but
it's close.
It was fucking. I think the Lexus is still her. She got that F Sport RX 350 F Sport, and I don't even think I even fucking got the title work and fucking license plates before we traded that fucker in.
Yeah.
But she went back to her roots. We always seem to go back to BMW, whether it's fucking seems like motorcycles now, fucking the daily cars. BMW resale value to me right now, everybody's resale value is all over the fucking place, but BMW's resale value isn't quite as good as Mercedes, which I've never understood, because their service is top notch. The build quality of their cars, I think, is way up there. Like I've said it before, I've talked to many people. If they would have took that i8 and put the fucking M engine in it, the V8,
yeah,
I'd probably own one of those motherfuckers.
Yeah,
just because of how good BMW builds their shit. But she went back to an X6M competition. Last night I raced Tesla Performance. I don't think it was the X. It was the Model. What's the other one? The Model 3, the slope back fucker. He just kept jumping and jumping and jumping. And, we're still in break-in period. I put that bitch in M2 and just fucked him up. Something about those BMWs are just built well. So she wanted it. We got it back. So the past week and a half, I get to thank Sean Ryan because I reached out to one person that I know is more dorky than I am when it comes to researching shit, and it's him. Yeah. And I was like, okay, bro, for real. Strange question. He's like, okay, Hitman. He's thinking show, guns, baby seats.
Yeah.
What you rocking? And he hit me up with it. And told him my two options I was looking at, and he's like, "You're good, but the car seat we have it won't fit that BMW because it's it's that big bulky
big fucking wheels on it,
all in one motherfucker." So yeah, my normal upgrades and searches are cars, motorcycles, and the past 2 weeks have been strollers and car seats.
Yeah, I mean nothing wrong with that. It's a priority. I will say two things. I guess the BMW versus Mercedes thing. I think the BMW is a better car. Where I think Mercedes beats BMW is their interior quality. I think is higher, kind of borrowed from their S-Class stuff. And it's not a knock on BMW. It's not that theirs is bad. It's not. It's very good. I just think Mercedes is just that extra level of refinement. It's not that it's better. It's just more refined.
Yeah.
It seems nicer. Build quality wise, there's really no difference. They're both exceptionally well made. And then exhaust note, the AMG exhaust note is arguably the best stock exhaust note out there consistently, I think.
Yeah. I would say across the board.
Yeah.
Even with supercars and shit, that AMG.
And no matter which fucking model you have, I mean, you can get a little AMG A45, whatever, that sounds like a fucking monster, or all the way up into their, standard V8 bi-turbo, and it just sounds really, really good. But
I think those two fuckers, because BMW's done a lot better with their exhaust notes on the M competition series, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. When you get an AMG, it don't have to have the S to have that badass exhaust note, but the BMW has to have competition or it don't have that exhaust note.
Yep. So there's that. And in that same vein, I guess, car news wise, when I got my truck with the generator in it was a F-150 King Ranch, and it was, I've never liked the spec. It's just, that's what they had. And it was hard to get the power boost models with the 7,300 watt generator, which I do use and prefer, but I wanted a generator. And so back when I got it was about a year ago this time, I ordered a new Raptor that same time, and it took that long to get in. It just came in this last week, and we can put some photos up or even do a review on it maybe, but there's not really much to review. I mean, it's the same tech as the new generation F-150s that I just spent a year with, and we did that review on. So it's really no different other than it's just all black. It does sound a lot better, and the modes on it are considerably better. There is no start stop button, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mine don't have that.
Yeah, it's always not in fucking eco mode or whatever, which is pretty handy. And the engine doesn't go on and off the way that the power boost does, because it has to, because it's got the electric motor and the engine brake and all that. But love the truck. It's awesome. Getting a shell put on it later this week, and that's my work truck. In that same vein, speaking of BMWs, just because traffic is so bad and how big of a vehicle it is, and I just, it's got BFG all-terrain tires, and they're fucking big and loud and whatever. I don't want to put a fuck ton of miles on that truck just driving around town and running into Dallas and back and whatever. So I did pick up a new daily driver. It's not here yet, but to be continued. I'll tell you what, I may have already kind of fucked up the what it might be, but we'll let you guys guess and see what the new daily is. That will keep my truck in the driveway a little more often, just for the running around town stuff. But I wanted it to be practical, comfortable, but still fast and fun to drive. So you guys throw your guesses out there.
Yeah, I don't think you just said the brand.
Yeah, well, either way.
Yeah. On a plus side, I ordered a car to race his new shit.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll have it in 6 to 8 months, and by then you won't have your shit.
Nah, I probably still have that. Unless something's fucking horribly wrong with it, which I don't think. But.
No, it's good. So I want to talk to you about something. We got sent a video of a UGR car, Stage 3 Plus, racing a BMW S1000RR stretched with Brentuning.
Stretched, lowered, and strapped.
Yeah.
That is a distinction. The strap makes a huge difference keeping that front end down with that amount of power. But that's a Bren Stage 2, I think.
Yeah. It's pretty much every bolt-on you can put on the BMW other than the velocity stacks, which the rider has coming in.
It does a 3.4 60 to 130.
Yeah.
Consistent.
So if we could put that video up right here. And it's just nutty to watch.
Yeah. I mean, you got to give it to the bike in that case, in a couple of ways. One, it gets the jump, and it will every time. There's a linear power build in the car that you're not going to get around, which is just kind of the law of physics, I think, unless you do rolling anti-lag, but that's, I wouldn't want to do that. I'm sure the owner doesn't want to do that, but it gets out, a car and a half or so, and holds it consistent up until, fairly high speeds until the car catches and passes it. But, I think what's neat about that video is that it doesn't take anything away from either the car or the bike. It makes both of them look good, I think, which is rare. Usually one looks better than the other or whatever, but I think both are equally impressive, just in different ways. And shout out to the rider for doing it. Can we say his name?
I don't know. That's up to you.
Yeah. I mean, shit, it ain't up to me. It's up to him, I guess. But
yeah.
If I'll leave it out for now. If you want it in there, chime in the fucking
yeah. Just put in the comments.
In the comments,
and I'll pin
that
it.
was me, just because of the nature of it. I don't want to assume that he's good with it, but you know, that's ballsy riding. I mean, there's a significant bend in that race. You know, that you can see in the video. He's pretty leaned over at a really high fucking speed, and can really squeeze everything out of that bike. So hats off to him and the car driver for doing it. But
what I think is really impressive about that, because you mentioned both look good. Usually when you see two big brands, which Brentuning and Underground Racing, UGR, some people would go by. If UGR's racing, they're going to show their side, and the competitor will never show their side. Yeah. Brentuning, the same thing. They're going to show their win. The competitor will never show their side. Yeah. This race was so good, they both shared it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it because it speaks volumes for both vehicles. Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, it's amazing. Watching the video, I keep in my mind thinking, because I know what the power bands and all that are, I want to say when the car takes over, it's 4th to 5th gear. Because it looks like a significant boost gain. Yeah. But shit, it was fun to look at the video and see all that happening.
Yeah, it's impressive shit. I mean, yeah, like I said, on all accounts, it's just, I mean, like, what a time to be alive. The fact that that's possible in two platforms that are so vastly different, and they're both that good, is pretty fucking cool.
And what's neat is usually when you see a race at that power level, neither vehicle was driven or ridden there. They were pulled on a trailer. Yeah. And now, yeah, not the case. Yeah,
they met there, you know, from driving from quite a ways away to do it, and then drove home. So,
yeah, but, it's I mean, it speaks volumes. I mean, it's part of the reason why I own a BMW motorcycle. You own a BMW motorcycle. Part of the reason why we've spoke so highly of Underground Racing for years.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely nobody in the business that even comes close, you know, to that company for those types of builds. You know, I mean, not even close. Like, it's so disparate as far as the contrast between them and everybody else. It's almost fucking embarrassing, honestly. I mean, like, they're just so good at what they do, and they've been doing it for so long, and have done so many of them, that they have such a bank of knowledge to draw from, you know, in experience, to be able to know how to do it right and troubleshoot if there was an issue or whatever. But there just rarely is, you know, and to have that kind of performance in a super reliable platform is almost unheard of. I mean, think about all of the different builds that we've done that were a fraction of that were nothing but problems, you know, like, I mean, adding 100 or 150, maybe 200 horsepower to pick a fucking platform, and it's like, this engine light's on, and then that fucking happens, and then this breaks, and then that, you know, and it's like, these guys are over doubling the wheel horsepower with absolutely no fucking reliability problems, you know. It's just, it's incredible. It's a real testament to their competency.
I haven't driven a UGR car, but I have rode in it, and I've rode in another, I would say, pretty well-known turbo builder's car. And I got asked in a message, kind of them wanting to be glorified, what do you think of that build? And my response was, it's night and fucking day, the difference in those builds. Yeah. Oh yeah, which one's better? The Underground Racing is, and it's for simple things. The simple thing is they know what works, and they put what works in there. No flash, no, hey, if you hold this, you can get rolling anti-lag, shoot flames out of it. And no, if you want a good car, you need it to do this and this from A to B. And hey, do this, and you can drive that motherfucker wherever you want. Drive it to the track and go fuck people up, you know, versus the other one. I did drive that one, and
you drove the shit out of it too.
Yeah, so, no, I drove that because you were like, man, something just seems off.
Yeah, treat it like a bitch and tell me what you think.
Yeah, and then I came back and I was like, it's quick, but you're right, something's not right. Yeah. And when you get in that level, it shouldn't be that way. Yeah, and it goes to kind of what we've talked about, customer service. their customer service, because I've talked to the owner of UGR multiple times in emails.
Yeah.
And even if it's a dumbass question like, hey, man, what color are those brake pads? Motherfucker, like black, bitch, like all the other brake pads, you know, but he'll send it back. Versus you could be a customer with some of these other upgrade shops, and it can be a week or two before you hear any fucking thing.
Yeah, even when you ask them, and it could be a serious.
I mean, I just went
question,
through that.
You know? Yeah. No, I know it. I mean, I mean, shit. I've been talking to Kevin at UGR for several years now before I became a customer, and even when I went with a different company first, he still, you know, was super respectful and answered my questions and. You know, was always fucking top notch. I mean, those guys are fucking awesome. I mean, I can't speak highly enough. I'm not trying to blow smoke or you know, we're not sponsored by them. We're not getting any free shit. Like, to me, it's just between the two of us, we've been through a lot of.
Well, you got that fucking shirt and they gave you a car for free.
I bought the shirt, got the car for free.
Yeah,
most expensive shirt I've ever had. No, it's just to me, it's like if something's good, they deserve to be talked about, and that deserves to be showcased because it's increasingly rare that companies put out that kind of product and operate the way that they do. But
yeah, because I mean, you have Brentuning. I would put them in the motorcycle in that same fucking
thing.
category.
Yeah, phenomenal guys.
Because when I went to my new setup, dude, they were and they hooked me up, and I wasn't asking to be hooked up. I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna give you a shout out on our show, blah blah blah. No. They were like, hey, man, you're a current customer or you're a past customer. Do this, and boom, we'll get you hooked up. And
I mean, I've talked to them a few times, too. They don't know me from fucking anybody, and same thing, like super responsive, super professional. Their tunes are always really, really good. I've had, basically no issues with their tunes or products, and it's really good. But one of the last thing, I guess, stroking people off wise, and then we'll move on, but to me, one of the really neat and most impressive things about the UGR guys is how much you can ramp up from there and keep it the same reliability and kind of same process. You can go as low as 800 wheel horsepower. I mean, as low as, it's still super high. But you can do 900, 1,000, 1,150, 1,300, 1,400, 1,500, 1,600, 1,750, 2,000, 2,500, 3,000, like. The sky's the fucking limit. You can just keep going up and they can keep accommodating those builds and they've done it, So it's like you can really do whatever you want with them and it just correlates to having to build out other parts and components in the car to be able to handle that and they've done it, they know how to do it and they have a process for it. So they're awesome guys. But
it goes into, some people have asked why we both like Swiss watches and things like that. I would equate to someone's knowledge of knowing how to build something and make it reliable quality worth asking for. Elon Musk has a quote that customer once asked him, why am I paying you $30 and you weren't here an hour? And he said, my hourly rate's $30, but I fixed it in 10 minutes, but you're paying an hour. And okay, so why am I paying for an hour? You were here in 10 minutes because it took me 10 years to learn how to fix this in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So you're paying for the 10 years. I was just here for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that hits fucking hard as a business owner than someone who's into quality shit.
Yeah.
You see someone's price of a watch, a car build, you're like, God damn. Then you experience it and it's like, God damn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you get what you pay for most of the time. There are some things, clothes and otherwise that don't yet. No, I'd say you get what you pay for there too.
I don't know if I had some bad ones. You just wear a mask.
That were super expensive?
Yeah.
Well, that's your problem. Anyway, so good stuff. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm sure there will be more to come, especially with what's going on in the background, which we'll get into in the coming weeks. But
yeah, we got if all this stuff fucking takes off, we got working. This is going to be a very fun year to be a part of Uninfluenced. I can tell you that. Good shit. We're going to get into some questions. I was going to do a lot more. We got another show we're actually recording later this week, which I think may end up replacing this one, and this one will go later. We'll figure that out. But go to that Russ Cum guy. I know that's not his name, but it's cooler if it was.
That's fucking right.
So we're going to get into some of you guys' questions because I don't like having them all built up. It feels like I'm abusing you fuckers. Okay, so here's Russ Combs. He's probably going to get mad as hell. Bitch, that ain't my name. Do either of you have any experience with BMW drivers driving like complete assholes? I've seen so much of this in my years of commuting to and from work. There are memes on the internet about this, so it has to be a thing, right? Love the show. Well, Russ, he rides a BMW. I own BMWs, and I'm a total fucking asshole. But I can tell you, I drive the same whether I'm on a BMW, in my fast car, in my fucking F-150. If you're in my fucking way, I'm going to get around you.
Yeah.
I don't fucking care how I have to. I'm going to get around you.
Yeah. I would say sort of. To me, there are assholes that drive every brand, but I do know what you mean in that usually the M cars, not just BMWs, but I would say more the M cars. Pick one. Fucking M2, M3, yeah. M4, M5, M6, M8. Is there an M8? Mm-hmm. The XM, fucking pick a number. I think, more than anything, it's just the type of person that buys a car that's designed to handle well and be fast and to be driven hard usually is going to drive it that way, which for most people, I think, equals driving like an asshole. Mm-hmm. So I think there may be, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that, your idea of what driving like an asshole versus somebody else's may be different. I suspect that most of the people, not all, I'm sure there's some that think and actually want to drive like an asshole, don't think that they're driving like assholes. They're just trying to enjoy their car and drive it hard. And that comes across like them driving like an asshole because of it. So it's a little bit subjective, but I do know what you mean. But I also think, like I said, it applies a little bit to anybody that has a car that's performance designed and meant to be driven hard and fast and enjoyed, is that if that guy is in a sea of commuters and utility vehicles, it's going to stand out and seem like you're being a dick about how you're driving. But
well, there's this one fucking little asshole that fucking follows us to these meets. He drives like a fucking asshole, and he's in a BMW.
And it's Robin's Egg Blue, by the way.
Yeah, it's like, look at me, fucking blue.
It's not pastel. Like what is it, Easter?
Yeah, it's not a fucking high from the cops.
Just gonna have a wrap on it next weekend.
Have you seen his front end since he followed the GT500?
No, is it all fucked up?
Oh, dude, it's fucking bad.
Way to fuck him up.
It's not my fault. I told him not to get too close.
Yeah.
Like, if you can read this.
I'll read it. Why has the automatic transmission not seen popularity in motorcycles as it has seen in cars? I'm going to preface this with, I'm not the fucking gearhead motor guy. I'm going to take a stab at it, though. It could be totally off. This is just the way my brain works, is I'm going to guess. It's two things. One is that with quick shifters and blip shifting technology being what it is, you kind of don't need it. There's three things. So that's number one, is that it's already so easy to shift without using the clutch with the quick shifting technology that exists. It's kind of irrelevant, kind of. You still have to actually do something. Yes, it's not doing it for you. The second thing is weight. Automatic transmissions, especially in such a small platform, I would think would be enormous, would make the engine big and heavy to the point where it would be hard to make it a motorcycle at that point. I could be totally fucking wrong. I'm just guessing. And then the last thing is that driving a motorcycle, that there is a level of driver engagement that is necessary at a much higher level in terms of upshifting and downshifting faster and going through the gears quicker, to where I don't know that an automatic transmission would work the same way. I could be wrong. Those are my three guesses at why you haven't seen that. But
there are a few cruiser bikes. I may speak out of turn, but I'm pretty sure BMW has a cruiser, and I think Honda has one. And there's one more, I'm pretty sure, but they're cruisers, and they do have a automatic transmission. But what they're doing is using the blipping system automatically instead of, using your feet. Yeah. Kind of like a multi-clutch transmission. But yeah, on a sport bike, especially with the new blipping and stuff like that, Hell, I rarely ride with my clutch hand unless we're really getting fucking after it. Yeah. My clutch hand, I can just keep on my knee, my leg. I just fucking ride and shift up, down, whatever I want. So there's really no need on a sport bike for it. And like you said, weight and everything else. And then the downshifting, just, I don't think it could keep up. Well, transmission they would need would just be huge. And
yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, like even in cars, right, where yes, it's an automatic transmission. If you look at the fastest times, automatic transmissions in cars now are faster than humans, how they can drive a manual. But there's a catch to that. It's kind of the equivalent to blipping in that they're still in manual mode using paddles, not relying on the transmission to do it. If you watch any track time that's done, or even for myself, I know, like if I'm driving around town where I've got to go up and down in gears, I'm always using the paddles, and it's way faster.
Yeah.
Like if like the Pista is the fastest downshifting car I've driven. It still doesn't do it the way I do it or a human being would do it when you're having to do it fast and slow way down quick and whatever. Even when you brake and it goes down 2 or 3 gears in a fairly short time, it's still not the same as doing it yourself with the paddles. So take like the new GT3 as an example. You can get it in manual or an automatic, and it's a way faster track car if you do it in automatic, but it's not in pure automatic. It's an automatic, but using the paddles in that kind of pseudo manual mode. So to me, that's basically the equivalent is it's an automatic transmission, but that you're manually shifting without a clutch the same way, you know? Yeah. So I think that's probably going to be the case for a long time, or maybe even ever, especially with electric cars being what they are in terms of not shifting, is that I don't know that you'll ever see internal combustion engine automatic transmission technology get to a point where it can actually do it faster and better than a human being in that environment, in a track-like environment. I don't think it'll ever get to that point. But
no, I don't think so. But you never know. I mean, we wouldn't have thought some of these electric cars are doing what they're doing. Go to some of the older ones if we can.
All right. Mike, did the bad guys, especially in Afghanistan, get all coked up and high before a fight? Any idea of bad guys being doped up or nah?
That's a good question.
In a lot of cases, in most places in the Middle East, in the afternoon and evening, a lot of the gentlemen chew on khat and other things similar to that, which is an opium-based chewing tobacco kind of thing, where they get all fucked up on it, and then they're out of their minds. I mean, they're kind of out of their minds anyway. But yeah, that is a fairly common practice in a lot of places over there.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's not a bad question. I'm surprised. I'm gonna go on and say that's Randy wrote that in. Usually he writes some dumb ass shit. Most epic barroom brawl used guys took part in or witnessed. Doesn't need to take place in a bar.
Well, it's not a bar. It's not a barroom brawl then.
That was at a bowling alley.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I've been in bar fights. You have some. I don't know if you can talk about some.
Well, I'll say one that I witnessed, because I'm not going to talk about any that I've been in, even with statute of limitations. I'll just say one that I witnessed. We were in Hawaii, and we were on deployment. So I was with SEAL Team 3 Echo Platoon, and we were staying on the main island, but we were on the west coast of it, which is more of a locals type of area. It's the southwestern part of the island. We were staying in these old, like, abandoned army barracks, and there was, some in-town parts nearby that, there was a couple grocery stores and restaurants and stuff. And we went to a Chili's, and it was me and 2 other guys. We're sitting at a booth, and there's like a row of booths that are along the edge of a big area of like bar tables, where, that's where the bar was. And so they're serving drinks and food in there or whatever. And so we're sitting in one of these booths next to this, big open area with all these barroom tables. And it's pretty much all Hawaiian, Samoan locals in there. And then our 3 fucking white asses. And it's pretty full. There's probably, I don't know, 30, 35 people. And you could tell that it was like most of them knew each other. It was like a big family, or a couple of big families that had a bunch of tables and whatever. And there was a sit-down table and then a higher elevated table. And you couldn't hear it at first, but you could tell that they were kind of eyeballing each other. And it was a girl sitting at the sit-down table, sitting there with, I think, her husband and another guy. And then it was a table with like two couples. And one of the guys at the taller table was having words with one of the girls sitting. I don't know if they knew each other or what the fuck, but they were kind of jabbering back and forth. And you could tell it was starting to get heated. Now you could kind of start to hear them yelling at each other. And then they just, it goes silent for 30 seconds or so. And then all of a sudden the guy at the elevated table very calmly stands up without saying anything. Calmly just walks over to the table, again, doesn't say shit, just leans back and boom, just fucking clocks the girl and flattens her. And like, that was the light switch that just the entire room just erupted. And now you've got like 35, 370 pound, 6'8" Samoan dudes just beating the shit out of each other. I mean, there's fucking tables flying, chairs breaking over each other's fucking heads. I mean, it was like glasses shattering. I mean, it was total fucking mayhem. And we're just sitting there watching this like, dude, is this a fucking hidden camera show? Like, is Ashton getting ready to fucking jump out the closet, screaming punked or what? Like, it was the craziest shit. I mean, in all the fights I've seen or what have you, or even been in, like, that was by far the craziest because it was huge and it was nuts. And in Hawaii, most of the cops drive their own cars because it's so overpopulated. They don't want double the cars of the cops having their personal cars and having a cop car. So most cops use their own personal cars as their cop cars and they slap a light on it. So you see like fucking 15, 16 fucking Mustangs and fucking Corollas and shit just flying into the parking lot with cherries on the top and dudes jumping out. Some of them are in uniform, some of them aren't. Fucking nightsticks come in, they just start beating the shit out of everybody and fucking tasing people. I mean, it was fucking nuts. It was like some shit out of a movie, but somehow they managed to get everything under control and got it quelled. But, we were just sitting there for like a half hour watching this crazy shit happen. And finally we left. We were like, dude, fuck this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nuts.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And I'm kind of like you. I don't really want to talk on air about bar fights that I've been in.
Yeah.
Not a part of. There's something called a lawsuit and all that could still happen. The other question I don't even care to answer to you.
Which one, the third or fourth?
Third.
Well, it's why the fuck is it so hard to swim? Well, Randy, it's not. So best way to learn is get in the fucking water.
Yeah. Fucking prick. See, he started off well.
Yeah. Like a naturally aspirated engine, you lost steam at the top end, Randy.
Fucking Randy.
Hey guys, quality content as usual, long-time listener here. I'm finding it difficult being a new father to concentrate on anything besides the school shootings. My sons are 2 and 5. The thought of sending my boys to school is weighing on me. Matt, what are your thoughts, especially having a baby at home? And Mike, if you were put in charge of securing those schools, what would you do? I'd like to pick your brains before I go to the next school meeting, just trying to do something, feeling pretty helpless like many others. You go ahead since you got a newborn.
It's tough, but it's always been tough. I mean, there's been shit in schools forever. The difference is there's social media now. There's news and political people pushing it more and more. And while they're pushing it, it's driving these fucking people that are insane to be like, oh, I can become famous by going to shoot up a school. For one, we shouldn't glorify these fuckers for doing what they're doing. They shouldn't get any media attention outside of there was a shooting at a school. Who did it? You go look it up. We're not going to publicize all this shit on the TV, the internet. You look it up, you find it out, because at that point, it can be public record once they're. But when we glorify it and make these dumbass kids or dumbass adults become instant celebrities for doing bad shit, that's not a good precedent to set. I mean, at that point, it's, hey, I can go rob this fucking store, and as long as I'm live on fucking Instagram, I can become famous for that.
Yeah.
But it starts at the media level and the politicians and shit like that, which I don't think we're ever going to see go away. As far as sending your kids to school, you almost cheat your child not sending them to some sort of school, whether it be public, private, however you decide to do it, because that social interaction they need that we talk about all the time, these phones are taking that away. When they leave school, the social interaction stops. The iPad, same thing. Us as new parents, what do we do now for babysitters? Here, have this iPad, watch YouTube. Have this iPad, watch Cartoon Network or fucking Netflix. Shut the fuck up, watch an iPad. We don't interact with our children as much as we should. So therefore, if we take away school too, what social interactions are these kids having?
Yeah.
You know, and to me, I think it's dangerous. And should there be more security? Yes, I've thought that for a long time. A lot of the schools around here up in Dallas area are actually a pain in the fucking ass to get into, even as a parent. So some of these people walking around doing stupid shit, you don't hear about it in the really big cities, in places like Dallas, Fort Worth, things like that. You hear about it in the smaller suburbs and shit like that. But my kid's going to have to go to school. Now, I'm going to have to decide if I'm going to send him to a private school, public school. Yeah. But he's going to have social interaction. I think we're cheating our society, and we've talked about it over and over with electronics. So, yeah, my kid's going to go. Is it scary? Yeah, but it's also scary going to the mall and taking your baby out of the car and walking with all this bullshit up in a mall parking lot. Now, someone could come up, rob you, and shoot you right there.
Yeah.
Someone could rob you at the grocery store. I mean, the fact of the matter is the same shit can happen no matter where you're at. Happened at a grocery store in, where was that, New York?
Detroit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, bad shit happens everywhere. It's just a matter of, are you protecting yourself to help protect your family?
Yeah. So I have a number of points that I would make. First off, one of the statements, you're saying you're finding it difficult to concentrate on anything besides the school shootings. That's not by accident. To Matt's point, the media, social media, and the mainstream media in particular, it's their priority to keep you concerned, worried, and pissed off, or a combination of all those things, because that translates to you concentrating on school shootings and watching and listening, which means money for them. And I hate to say that, and I'm not just saying that's absolutely the reality of it. That's why that is the way that it is. It's because it's intended. I find it useful as well as essential to look at data. Okay. And this is not minimizing the kids that are killed in school shootings. It's not, but it's simply meant to add some perspective, some healthy perspective in terms of data and statistics to understand, the severity of a problem, because that's really the direct correlation is how bad is something? Well, how often does it happen? And the reality of it is that in mass school shootings, the number of kids that die per year compared to a lot of other things, I'll use one example. I'll use two examples. Drowning. Drowning in private backyard swimming pools. All right. It's about 10 times the amount of kids drown in backyard swimming pools in the same age range that you're talking about, and even younger, than die in mass school shootings. When was the last time you ever heard, hey, there was 37 kids that drowned this month in backyard pools? You've never heard that, right? Why? Okay. The numbers are higher. You don't ever hear that in news stories, because I'm not going to say nobody gives a shit, but it's not going to draw headlines and people with their mouth open saying, holy fuck, really? And tuning in and watching it, there's no factions of Congress that are demanding that, we have, common sense pool legislation to drive around with concrete trucks and fill in all of these pools, because nobody needs a swimming pool in your backyard. Okay. There's none of that, right? Why isn't there any of that? All the reasons that I just said, so I won't beat that fucking dead horse. Another thing is opioid overdoses, right? This is the collective average age, which is, under 55, but even in the 18 and younger, minor range, it's tens of thousands of kids are dying every year from opioid overdoses. Now, I won't say that that's never mentioned on the news, but it's rarely mentioned. and it's never mentioned with the same level of vitriol and gumption and divisiveness that exists like it does with gun legislation. So keep the data in mind. Now, having said that, that doesn't mean that you just accept, because it statistically doesn't happen that often. That doesn't mean that it's not terrible, and it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do something about it. So in terms of your question of how I would do it, there's two main things, which is, number one is developing a perimeter around every school that's difficult to get through, very difficult to get through, which by itself inherently creates choke points, one way in, one way out. In this case, I would do two, so that there's one in the front, one in the back, or one on the side, whatever, so that there's not only one way to get in and get out in case of an emergency, a fire, whatever. But I want to caveat that with the exterior perimeter is a good distance from the doors of the school. So there's one or two main ways to actually get, through that main perimeter that goes around the school. And there is an armed guard there all the time. Unlike a school resource officer who's dealing with tardiness, skipping school, drugs in the school, fights, all of that other bullshit, this armed guard has one priority, one responsibility, and that's it. And that is to defend anybody trying to get into the school that's not supposed to be there. And that's it. That in and of itself would fix a lot of these issues. I would say most of them is that if all of these guys know that there's a body armor toting fucking, M4 or, some sort of good, competent fucking rifle standing there on duty, looking out for stuff like that, it's going to be a lot harder to do it, A, and it's going to deter most of that from happening, B. The last thing I'll mention is, to Matt's point on or to your other question, I guess, is, what to do. Do you send your kids to public, private, whatever? I do actually have mixed feelings, and here's where I wouldn't say Matt and I disagree. It's just my thoughts have evolved a little bit in terms of seeing what's being taught in public schools, what's not being taught, and what's being allowed to take place in there. I'm not necessarily of the opinion that public school is a necessity anymore. 15, 20 years ago, absolutely it was. And even when we were growing up, 100% it was. The amount of bullshit that's in there now, to me, if you can swing it, my recommendation would be to homeschool. But that's not just, here's a computer and I'm going to let somebody else do it. It's taking an active role and legitimate participation in your child's education. So that's not just schoolwork. Yes, there are a lot of curriculums online or even hard copy that you can have that are, kind of somewhat monitored by organizations. And there's a ton of them out there to choose from if you want to focus on religion or focus on conservatism or libertarianism or liberalism or whatever. There's a lot of different angles you can go if that's kind of the vibe that you want to inject into your child's education. But a lot of it needs to come from you guys. Manners, handy shit around the house, life skills, instead of watching movies, fucking going outside and planting trees and fixing things and shit like that isn't taught in schools anymore. And frankly, it's rarely taught inside people's houses too. So if you can do that, that would be my recommendation, is take an active role, do a lot of the teaching yourself with assisted, if you can swing it. I'm not naive to the fact that most people financially and what have you can't do that. In that case, that's a tough choice. Maybe go with a private school that's going to teach them exactly how you want them to be taught, or as close to that as possible, and or put them in social activities, whether it's sports teams or whatever it is, fucking Boy Scouts. I mean, pick something where they are going. Because to Matt's point, they've got to get out and do things with people. It doesn't have to be in school, but it needs to be somewhere, and it needs to be both legitimate and enough to where it's not like a 30-minute fucking play date at the park with a couple of fucking window lickers that they don't know and are never going to see again. There needs to be a sense of community, and they need to be interjected into that community so that they feel a sense of community as well. But I'm not minimizing it. It is a tough decision, but to me, you're kind of in the shit or get off the pot moment of, you'd like to be able to delegate that and trust somebody else to do it. The reality of it is, for too long now, there's been too many instances of public school systems failing our fucking kids on so many levels that I don't have a lot of faith in them anymore. But
that is a good point with the homeschooling. Hey, you cock holsters. That don't even make sense. That's like, hey, you mouths.
Holster this cock.
Yeah. I seek your wisdom. This is meant to be a fun one. Not that distort about it, but interested in both your opinions on this. Okay, I'm 33 years old. I probably have more salt and pepper in my beard than you guys do. I'm a plumber supervisor in a large commercial project. Anyway, I keep the beard because it makes me look older, and contractors take me more seriously. The flip side to this is I also only have older women showing me interest until that awesome question of what year did you graduate comes up. To shave or not to shave? That is the question. I mean, there's a few things you can do there. You could dye your beard. You could, how old was he? 33? Oh, you could definitely get with the chicks that are older so they could teach you some shit you ain't know nothing about when them motherfuckers tie you up and start hitting you with whips and fucking shit like that, little freaky motherfuckers. I mean, I don't really get hit on by older women with my beard and everything, to be honest with you.
Here's what I'm going to answer your question with one simple question. Which one is more fucking important to you?
Yeah.
Would you rather be taken serious at work, or would you rather have young trim fucking hit you up? I'm going to assume that it's probably being taken serious at work. You know, focus on the shit that's important. Honestly. I mean, because the reality of it is your fucking beard is gray. Right. So if chicks don't dig that and they want a guy that looks like he's 19, you're fucked anyway.
Yeah.
Right. And I would say further, why would you want to mess with a chick that wants you to look fucking young? Right. So embrace your fucking age. Don't worry about it. And stop looking. Like, you know, let it come to you and you either stumble on it or you don't. But to me, like if you focus on the shit that's important, the other shit is going to come. Like, to me, it's a cosmetic thing that I don't think deserves your attention. I would also say that proofreading goes a long way, right? Meant is misspelled. I don't know what not that distort about it even fucking means. And then you said, but interested in both your options on this. I'm assuming you meant opinions. Things like that. Like, I don't give a fuck how salty and peppery your beard is when you spell like you're in fucking 4th grade. That makes me think you're way younger than 33. So I would work on that, but I'm just fucking with you. I'm busting your balls, kind of, but that's my take on it.
Yeah. What he said. All right. This is going to be the last one. Dear Uninfluenced hosts Mike and Matt, thank you for the fabulous podcast. I'm a car lover and I love to drive. I am an anomaly in my world, as everyone I know hates driving and could give a shit about cars.
You got to find new friends.
Yeah, for real. Hence why I'm asking you guys these questions. Have either of you had to drive a right-hand drive manual transmission vehicle in a foreign country on the opposite side of the road to what you would normally do? If so, is it easy to adapt and orient yourself? I'm asking this for a future travel destination where I would be doing this, and I feel as if it would take some time getting used to. I never have.
I have in Australia, and I will say that it is a motherfucker, or it was a motherfucker for me to get used to. I never really did. It was awkward. We were there for the better part of a month. Granted, I wasn't driving all the time, but it was tough to do, and especially being on the other side of the road, like it's all dicked up. I would say at this point, like I doubt that you'll have to have a manual transmission. I mean, unless you're going to like on a safari where it's for sure going to be a manual transmission because it's some crazy 4Runner or Jeep or something that's all they have. It's going to take you some time to get used to it. No two ways about it. Question number 2, what do you think about people buying sports cars but then not driving them so as to put kilometers or miles on the vehicle for resale value? I have to say this irritates me as a car is to enjoy for driving pleasure. Here's my take. That's not my gig. I'm not going to say it irritates me. I don't get it. But I also think it's important to mind your own fucking business. That's not the first time I've said that, and here recently and gotten attention for it.
Exactly.
But I do. It's like, it's their money. If that's what they want to do, then fucking have at it. It's not what I would do, but to me, that's one of the beauties of a relatively free society, or how it should be, is that you can do that stuff and you ought to be able to. But I agree in that I think, they're meant to be driven. We drive the shit out of our cars on purpose, because I agree. Like, I'm not going to spend that money on it to fucking stare at it. If I want to do that, I'll buy a fucking Mona Lisa or whatever. But
yeah,
I think Matt feels the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm going to own something, granted, my last 2 bikes, I wouldn't say I put a bunch of miles on, and that's why they're my last 2 bikes.
Yeah.
The new one I have, I probably have already put as many miles on it as I did collectively the last 2. But yeah, if I'm not going to drive it, or I'm not going to enjoy the drive while I have it, I'm not going to keep it. I mean, it's not worth having. I could do other shit with my money if I'm just going to let it sit there. That's my opinion. As far as what others do with it, that's their money too. They do whatever the fuck they want with their money. Yeah, that's it. Also, would you rather drive an auto or manual transmission cars? I don't know anyone who drives a manual stick shift car apart from myself, and I read that only 5% of new car purchases are manual transmissions. What are your thoughts on this? To me, it's power. It all depends on the power level of the vehicle and what I'm doing with that vehicle. Today's automatics, like we talked about earlier in the show, they're just so fucking good, and especially when you're getting Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, the cars like that, the high-end sports cars and exotics and supercars, they're just so fucking good. Now, if I had a Cayman GT4 that all I was doing was minor track stuff with, I think it'd be fun to have a little stick shift in that and fuck around. Would the PDK be faster? Yes. But I think the fun and the experience of fucking sitting there throwing gears in a small track in that car, I think would be a blast. But to me, it's power level and what you're doing with the vehicle.
For me, I would say kind of similarly, but I will just say, the stick shift experience is cool. It's fun. It's neat, but it's more anomaly or occasionally. I would not want to have my daily driver be a stick shift, or even, if I had one fast car, to have it be a stick shift either. To me, like we were talking about earlier, the happy medium is a really, really fast transmission in manual mode where you're using the paddles. I would say that if you have not driven one of those, try to find somebody or go to a track and rent an experience or whatever. To me, that is the best of everything, because you still have both hands on the wheel. It's safer. To me, it's no less engaging.
Oh yeah.
In a way, I think it's more engaging, because the difference between having 2 hands this way and you can do this. You can flip and pull the paddles up and down while you have both hands on the wheel. Like, you feel more connected to the car and to the road than doing this. There's just more going on. It's fun. And it's cool, especially, I'm assuming you're probably more in our age range where maybe you learned on a manual, and that's why you still drive one and like one or whatever. I'm there with you. Like, don't get me wrong. It's awesome, both from an experience and nostalgia standpoint, to still throw around a fucking stick shift. But if your priority is performance and connection to the road and really fucking squeezing every drop of performance out of a car, a really good transmission, dual clutch, in manual mode using the paddles is fucking where it's at. It just is. I mean, there's just so many advantages to it. And it's, like I said, I don't think it's any less fun.
Yeah. And both of us do kind of the same thing. We know when our cars perform the best with the dual clutch, so we leave it in auto, just downshift it to get to where we want, and then let the transmission do its thing. But around town, both of us throw that bitch in manual and fucking play with the gears and fuck around. It's fun.
Yep.
But yeah. Is this a dude or a chick?
You'd have to ask them, because their name isn't going to tell you, right?
Yeah. Definitely a chick. Okay. Much respect.
Yeah. Mad respect to you. We'll just say MK, because
okay.
Okay. No, it's great questions. It's cool to see your love for manual transmission. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would recommend driving one like that.
Yeah, 'cause I didn't read the name, and when I saw the sincere, at the end, I was like, holy shit, hang on, now I need to know, because that totally changes my whole thoughts on that question. She got some mad respect.
Yeah. I tell you what, you come here. All right. It sounds like you're overseas because you reference kilometers and talking about going on vacation to somewhere where it's going to be that way. Come here. You can drive one of these cars in manual mode with an automatic transmission in manual mode using the paddles, and I'll bet you'll be a convert. How about that?
Yep.
You're invited.
I concur. Yep. Well, that's it, guys. If you have a question, ask.uninfluenced@gmail.com.
We'll get to it in a few months.
Yeah,
maybe.
We'll get to it between now and 2023. It's just been busy. We both had a lot going on, so we're trying to play catch up. We got some really good, I know of 2 good guests and 2 good shows we really got going. Other than that, stay tuned. You got any ideas? Ask the questions. Peace, bitches.
Shit, yeah.